So I just want to do a think aloud while I'm ripping paper. I'm not really ripping paper, I'm preparing for printing. And this is the serrated edge here that I'm taking off carefully because those are going to be the good prints. And it's also, I've got a bunch of test paper to do. And when I'm doing little repetitive, boring things like this, my mind tends to wander. And when my mind wanders, it gets into bad habits. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe this will work as I think aloud. And the difference between thinking and thinking aloud is that there is a censor to what I say aloud. So I'm able to kind of assert some kind of control over my thoughts and keep the direction of the thoughts kind of positive, which is not to say, and this is what I wanted to talk about, is toxic positivity. So if everything is mind and we are all one, how come I am happy and you are not? Or the other way around. It doesn't matter. This is like theory. And so there's a fundamental process of being human that is relational. And as animals, as monkeys that we are, great apes, we are electrochemical, physiological meat suits with consciousness and thinking and interpretation and meaning making, right? So while we're very, very good at most of our meaning making, we also get hung up in complexity, in interpreting other people's meanings, and trying to guess other people's thoughts, and we're just like overcomplicating things way too much most of the time. But I start thinking about these things specifically when I sit in this seat. And I think it's because I've been using this studio space as a place to be alone and to think. And I've been using my visual art to slow down and think holistically and visually and concretely about stuff, right? Various things. But at the same time, you know, what I've been doing is I've been having a deep rest from all the distress that I've been in. And the two things are true at the same time. You know, like there's the lived day to day, and then there's the meaning also that I make of my lived day to day. And you know, when I was spending some time last week, a little bit of time rereading something I wrote that actually is going to be published, and I'm actually very proud of. But you know, I was taking in the not editor's comments, but the peer reviewer made a really good suggestion, and so like I was just thinking, you know, and I made some clarifications, and I just got into my writing a little bit more, you know, and it's been a while, and so what that showed me was a few things, which is like, oh, okay, I'm better now than I was last year. I mean, this time last year, I was well and tired, but well, and coming out of No, I was tired but well. And then in July 1st, I got sick with COVID, and I haven't been well until now, until like maybe a month or two ago. All right, so it took that long for me to recover the little energy that I had. I thought I had recovered over the summer, but I hadn't really, because as soon as I began even just a little tiny work, I couldn't sustain it. And I still don't know if I will ever really be able to sustain what I used to be able to do, you know, work 2 full-time jobs and pursue graduate studies with young children. Like, no. I don't think I'm going to go back to the whole thing on my shoulders. And it's been very, very challenging because my partner's picked up all the burden of being the only income earner. And like, we're privileged, but we're not rich. And like, we're rich compared to the world. We're privileged compared to the world, but not compared to our peers where we live. We're lower middle class and like, not good to not have 2 incomes. All right. So, all right. I forget what I was talking about. Got sidetracked by money. All right, I'm still doing this. And I kind of love it. I like these little repetitive tasks that I don't have to think about, but are like achievable in a short amount of time. They actually give me a small feeling of accomplishment. Okay, I might as well talk a little bit about my journey with depression and anxiety and trauma, but I find it very boring, so I'm not going to dwell on it. Everybody has trauma, but not everybody needs the same exact solution or help, same kind of help, right? Everybody needs help. Everybody living alive today, right now on this planet, needs some kind of help. We're all suffering, all of us, because we live in human society, because we're alive on this planet. We have to deal with day-to-day life, direct, concrete, real relationships, ourselves within those relationships, and ourselves within the systems within which we live. All right? We need to find our place in that. We need to find our peace in that somehow, wherever we happen to be. And that is the human condition across time and space. And it's a problem because it's not easy. It's not easy because people are complicated with their thoughts. Our needs are simple. We need just each other. We need to love. We need to feel valuable. We need to be noticed. We need to feel that we have some control over things in our lives because there's so much that we don't have any control over. So, you know, we need all these things. That's what making peace with our situation is. It's getting those needs met. Because making peace with our situation, if our situation is one of trauma or abuse or lack of essential necessary things, is really, really toxic positivity talking. That's positivity that comes from people who have the privilege of not knowing how you feel, either because they've never experienced deep pain yet, like they're immature or ignorant simply of that experience, but it'll come eventually. Don't wish it faster. Just, you know. Or out of malice, which is very rare because most of us experience enough pain by adulthood to understand how to be. Okay? In Western psychology, pop psychology too, but also like clinical practice, there's a lot of toxic positivity and there's a lot of victim blaming still. And, you know, there's a lot of misogyny, you know, like rooted in anti-vulnerability, really, because women need care when they give birth, at the very, very least, right? Like if we make it through childhood as autonomous soldiers, good for us. But then at some point, pregnancy may happen. And when that happens, that body is dependent and vulnerable. And it's intolerable. It's intolerable to a machine-like society to have its workers drop out and be vulnerable. So machine society has just been like, well, that doesn't exist. La, 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 la. And we see the results in the US with their horribly high cesarean rates. Women can't give birth. Why? Will their bodies not open up to give birth? Is it because they are not safe? Yes, that's why. Anyway, I don't know why I'm on that topic either. So really, just thinking aloud. I'm almost finished doing this paper trimming. So this is my test paper. So what I'm planning to do is a reduction lino cut print, which I have not actually ever done before. And I have difficulty visualizing things. That's why I'm an artist, because it's easier for me to see it when I can make it happen. To put marks on paper, and then I've got something to work with and do that feedback, seeing feedback, make little small changes until I get the image that corresponds with what I had in my mind, which wasn't visual, it's feeling. I feel in my mind visually. I've often thought that maybe the way I quote unquote visualize is possibly the way a blind person would visualize, that I just take out the visual part and recreate the feeling of the forms, you know? I don't know if you know. That's what I do. So I'm using a lot of test paper because it's a technique that I haven't used before, and I'm going to make mistakes. So I'm preparing for my mistakes. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, these ones are not ripping as satisfactorily. It's a much, much noisier paper. Much flimsier, and the serrated edge is not as deeply imprinted, but it's still going. You definitely can't not do both folds, a fold to one side and fold to the other side, and then get it going. It should come. Got to put it on the ground. Put it on the table and rip upwards. Don't like that either. It's giving me little edges that I don't like. Meh, meh, meh. I just don't like this paper. Okay, this paper's crap. All right, what do I have? Okay, so I have all my nice paper, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets of test paper, which is not enough. I just have to keep going. Keep going. I hate hair in my face. It drives me out of my mind. So if you see me touching my face constantly, that's why. Okay, so this one's just like a little chomp, 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 chomp I have to do. I don't like that movement as much, but it really gives a better result. You know, long, satisfying tears. Not that important. All right. I really can't see where the thing is, and I can't feel it either. Okay, now I got it. No, see? Now I've got a crease in my paper that I didn't want there. How miserable this experience is. All right. So, you know, tearing the paper out nice and neatly is something that I've had issues with ever since school, you know. Small irritations in life like that, you know, are good opportunities to practice, like, getting over yourself. But when they accumulate and, like, your entire day is full of small irritations, then maybe a bigger rest is in order, right? Oh, I'm not just resting, too, for recovering from this bout of depression. I'm not just resting. I'm also doing a sensory diet. I'm trying my best to stay off social media because I can get stuck in loops in my head. Like, it used to be when I was a kid, I was constantly listening to the radio and a song loop would happen, and then I would be stuck with that in my head all day long, you know. But with videos and stuff, it's very disruptive to have constant noise in the mind. So I can't put it in my mind in the first place. I'm going out into the garden now that it's warm enough to do so several times a day. And I'm doing art several times a day too. Now, I'm still not able to sit and just art away all day long like I used to be able to. Not that I have since I was a teenager. But I am getting better now at the work period in the morning, work period in the afternoon, rest period after lunch. You know, like really basic, sort of a kindergarten activity schedule that I put myself on. So that's good, you know, it's good medicine. It's one of the ways being an early childhood educator was always like a good match for me, was because, like, I need a nap. No, seriously, like, I've always needed a nap in my day. Only when I was a teenager did I suddenly not need any sleep at all, but that's because I was, you know, manic, out of my mind, right? But not that I'm bipolar, although I might be. Who cares? It doesn't even matter. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing I wanted to talk about. I finally came around on my last piece of paper to the actual thing, because it keeps escaping me and coming back and escaping and coming back. Diagnosis. All right, so I have all these diagnoses. It still doesn't describe who I am. Even if I do get a autism diagnosis, or a nonverbal learning disability diagnosis officially, or ADHD diagnosis, or on top of my anxiety diagnosis and my Ehlers-Danlos diagnosis, and what else do I have? And all the little physical ailments that all have their names, right? None of it is me, but all of it is a part of me. But my experiences, the way I remember them, are not just valid in terms of stories that have lessons, life lessons in them that apply to, like, everybody, you know? Like, my experience is not just valuable to the neurodivergent community or the chronic pain community. It really is for everybody. Because fundamentally, neurodivergence or chronic pain suffering or any of that special slice of a label that we have, when you get down to the very bottom of it, each person is still more alike than they are unalike. We are all really the same. We are not separate. We lead separate lives on this earth, but we all have the same vehicle that can do pretty much more or less the same stuff that is necessary for life. And our limits are often social. They're real, but they don't belong only to us. Our limits are also collective, as is our boundless potential. That's what I believe. 20 minutes. Thanks for listening.